Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Here to talk about a fight that was announced today. The Super Six has gotten a lot more interesting. Former light heavyweight champion Glen Johnson has agreed to take the place of Mikkel Kessler, and he is set to fight Allan Green in November. And I think this fight is definitely one worth talking about. I think that based on styles, the old man has a chance. And I'll even go further and say my recommendation in this fight is that you take Glen Johnson to win the fight, straddled against Allan Green by KO. Now, let me just make a few points here. Styles make fights, nothing else. Not the age of the fighters or anything else, right? It's styles make fights. That's the bias I have. And Glen Johnson is a guy who is able to stay in the pocket. He is up on you. He is so close to you that a lot of young fighters, take a look at the Glen Johnson Yusuf Mack tape. A lot of young fighters will, under the pressure and the volume. Johnson throws a lot of punches, right? He stays in your comfort zone. A good fight for Glen Johnson is one where he's on top of you and he's throwing a lot of punches. And for those of you who believe that Glen Johnson doesn't have power, go back and look at that Yusuf Mack tape. That's the fight before Johnson's loss to light heavyweight champion Tavares Cloud. You'll see Johnson wear down and stop a very tough young Yusuf Mack. Now, Allan Green, I was on the verge of making a video that would have surprised many because I thought Allan Green had a good chance of beating Mikkel Kessler. And because Kessler had just beaten Carl Froch, and because Allan Green laid an egg against Andre Ward, I thought that the boxing public would be able to get pretty good odds on that fight. I thought Green was going to be the underdog in that matchup. My reasons for thinking that Green had a chance against Mikkel Kessler is the fact that Kessler can't fight inside like Andre Ward did in the last fight, and Kessler doesn't use a lot of lateral movement. He's pretty much on rails, and that's exactly what Allan Green needs. Unfortunately, he's not going to get that here, right? Allan Green likes to fight where you are, politely staying at arm's length from him. That's when he is devastating. But if you're able to get inside like Andre Ward was, if you're able to literally flood him, Allan Green wilts. And I know that Green believes the reason why he wilted against Andre Ward was because he overtrained. If you look at the last round of that Andre Ward fight, you're going to see right after the fight, Green goes up to Ward and says something to him. Thanks to Showtime and their 360 special, we now know that what he said to Andre Ward was that he needed to move up to 175, right? Green, by the way, don't be fooled by weights. Green, by the way, is the bigger man in this fight. Allan Green is 6'2", Glen Johnson's only 5'11". Allan Green fought for years as a light heavyweight, not as a super middle. He didn't drop down to super middle until 2005. He's actually the bigger man, right? Well, sadly for Allan Green, Glen Johnson is going to be inside in his face in a zone that is not Allan Green's hot zone. Allan Green, the same things that caused Allan Green to wilt against Andre Ward are present in this fight. The other problem, too, of course, is this fight's at 168. Let me just say, Glen Johnson has been fighting at 175. Disturbingly, Glen Johnson came in against Tavares Cloud weighing over 190 for that fight. That may have been intentional since Tavares Cloud is a pretty brutal body puncher, and maybe Glen Johnson thought the extra weight would help him. Normally, Johnson comes in around 173-ish, right? This fight's at 168. So both men might have problems making weight. Let me just make a point to you, right? If either guy fails to weigh in and has a weight advantage on the other, then all bets are off. Okay? This video is intended to apply if the guys actually make the 168-pound limit. I do expect both guys to be spent. I just don't believe that Allan Green can fight in the pocket. I think Glen Johnson is going to smother him. I think Allan Green is going to be exposed. I know Green thinks that it's a matter of weight. I know Green thinks, and his promoter, Lou DiBella, think that a new nutritionist might help, Green actually prepare for this fight. I don't believe that's the case. I think what you're going to see is a guy who needs you at arm's length and who needs a slower fight in against a guy who, quite frankly, is going to be too high volume for Green and too close to Green, and who always has his defense up. He's going to be hard for Green to hit. Now, I know I'm going to get some comments on the fact that the over-under looks tempting, right? Whatever it is, because neither guy has been knocked out since 1997, right? If you took the over in all of their fights since 1997, you would win every time, right? The last time, in fact, the only time Glen Johnson got stopped was by the great middleweight champion Bernard Hopkins, right? That was in 1997. Allan Green has never been stopped. I understand he's been down. I know I'm going to hear about the Miranda fight, but understand he actually went the distance in that fight. He's never been stopped. Nonetheless, as those of you who bet on the Sergio Mora Shane Mosley fight are well aware, right? You don't want to take either guy to win by decision, because if the fight is a draw, you'll actually lose that bet, right? So what you want to do is you want to take one guy to win, and then you want to take the guy who you think is going to lose but who has a punch to win by knockout. I believe that's the straddle that should give you a decent rate of return. I believe Glen Johnson has the better chance of winning the fight based on styles. I think, I don't see how Allan Green is going to outwork him to get a decision. So I like Glen Johnson to win. I'm not going to say Glen by decision, even though neither guy's been knocked out in more than a decade, right? You want the possibility, if it's a draw, of getting your money back. Not only that, quite frankly, a lot of Glen Johnson's fights have gone to decision. Glen Johnson does not have one punching power, right? So I like Glen Johnson to win. The only reason for the straddle, even though Glen Johnson has not been knocked out in more than a decade, is because the only way I see Allan Green winning this fight is by knocking out Glen Johnson. And Glen Johnson did get hurt a few times in that Tavares Cloud fight. And keep in mind, too, Glen Johnson is over 40 years of age. And so for those reasons, I like Johnson to win. That's what I believe is the likeliest outcome, straddled against Allan Green by KO. Also keep in mind, too, if the winner of this fight is going to make it to the next round of the Super 6, they're going to need a knockout more than likely, right? Because the knockout gets you 3 points for the victory instead of 2 points, right? And Arthur Abraham already has 3 points. He's in second place. Andre Ward already has 2 wins, one over Mikkel Kessler, the other over Allan Green. He's in first place. So if these guys are going to jumpstart it, they really do need to put in work. Green especially needs a knockout. I believe for Glen Johnson, for him, it's just an opportunity to get his name back in the limelight. If he wins this fight, the sky's the limit for him, because based on styles, I think he has a decent chance against some of the other guys in this tournament. We'll save that for a future video. Let me also make another point, too. In terms of the quality of opposition, Glen Johnson has fought and sparred with the vastly superior level of opposition. I'll give Green credit for fighting Andre Ward. Andre Ward is on the very short list of the very best in boxing. But understand that Glen Johnson, before one of his fights with Chad Dawson, who many know I consider to be the top floor in the sport, even though he lost to Jean Pascal. Understand that Glen Johnson had a camp where his only sparring partner was Lucien Boutte, who, in my opinion, is on the top floor at 168 along with Andre Ward. Right? These guys sparred extensively with each other. You can tell that it certainly helped Boutte, who now has a body attack and who is vastly improved when you flood him when you're right on top of him. Right? So Johnson has already dealt with a very skilled 168 pounder. Keep in mind, too, that Boutte, in my opinion, is more talented than Allan Green. Boutte has an inside game to go with his outside game, and Boutte can throw hooks to the body in the middle of a snowstorm. So understand, Glen Johnson, in addition to fighting Chad Dawson, Bernard Hopkins, right, Lucien Boutte, has also fought Antonio Tarver. He's also fought Clinton Woods. He's fought the elite at 175. So even though Allan Green has a huge punch, I can't say that that punch is harder than anything that Johnson's last opponent, unbeaten Tavares Cloud, throws. So Green is very hyped. Just know that Johnson has been in with better. I'm expecting Johnson to exceed expectations in this match. The bet, for me at least, is Johnson to win, straddled by Green by KO. Let me know what you think. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Visit us at predictboxing.blogspot.com. And definitely leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Thanks for watching.